In this session, I will be talking about the new General Service List, the new-GSL, and the research that led to the creation of the new-GSL. I carried out this research together with Jana Gablasova. If you haven't heard the term General Service List before, just to clarify, this is perhaps one of the most famous lists of English words, English vocabulary that is available. Why do we need a vocabulary list? Why do we need a list of frequent English words? Imagine you have a friend and they speak no word of English and you want to teach them some words. Where would you start? One of the possibilities is to start pointing at objects around you and start naming them. A chair, a desk, a window, and so on. One of the obvious drawbacks of this approach is that it is hard to tell which of these objects are more important to your friend than other objects. Another problem might be that a lot of the concepts that we use in everyday language are abstract concepts. For instance, the most frequent noun in the English language, both in speech and writing, is the noun time. We talk about time all the time. However, we can't point to a specific object that would represent time. So, to answer the question I asked at the beginning, why do we need lists of frequent words? The list of frequent words can be used in such situations in which you want to give people words that might be useful for them if they want to start learning the language. So far I've been talking about pedagogical purposes of vocabulary lists. There are many words out there, but the question is, which of these are useful for learners to know? Another group of purposes are research purposes. Vocabulary lists of words are commonly used in lexicography, dictionary building, textbook creation and evaluation, language testing, reading research, psycholinguistic research, and they are also used as a baseline for creating specialized and academic word lists. Just a cursory search in Google Scholar gives an overview of how much research there is based on the General Service List. This is just from last 3 years. Okay, the General Service List. Let me tell you more about this. There are two versions. The old General Service List, published and created by Michael West in 1953, and the new General Service List that was published only recently in Applied Linguistics. Michael West's General Service List is a good, stable list of 2,000 most frequent English words that was based on an interim report on vocabulary selection from 1936, although it was published only in 1953. This list is widely used in applied linguistic research and teaching practice. The question is, so why do we need a new General Service List? When we look closer at Michael West's General Service List, we can see there are many frequent words there, such as the verb take, make, go, the noun time, year, and so on. However, there are also some more problematic words. For instance, you can find words such as shilling, footman, milkmaid, telegraph, and also words such as timely, stoppage, invaluable, and so on. Well, if you remember, the sources of this General Service List go back to the 1930s, and this reflects the selection of the vocabulary. So milkmaid, shilling, footman, telegraph reflect that type of reality and the society that the vocabulary list was based on. When we look at words such as timely, stoppage and invaluable, the reason why they got into the general service list is that they are related, morphologically related to more frequent words, such as time, stop, the verb to stop, and value, the noun value. Michael West argued that because of this relationship, they should be also included in the word list. So just to sum up, Michael West used a range of criteria for the selection of vocabulary. One of the criteria was frequency, but West used also a number of subjective criteria, such as ease of learning, necessity, neutrality. Michael West argued that if a word is easy to learn, it should be included in the word list. For instance, once a learner knows the word stop, West would argue the word stoppage, because it is morphologically related, is easy to learn, and that's why he would include it. Necessity, another subjective criterion. West believed that there's a range of necessary ideas that language needs to communicate, and these ideas should be covered in the vocabulary list. Neutrality, West believed that for learners, the main purpose of using language is not communicating emotions, but getting some content across. So he would exclude words that were emotionally marked. West used a corpus, 2.5 million to 5 million words, which is comparably smaller to the corpora that we have available nowadays. And the organizing principle I already mentioned were the word families, words that were or are morphologically related. Okay, when we look at the new general service list, the new general service list is based purely in quantitative paradigm. We used 3 criteria for vocabulary selection: frequency, dispersion, and stability of a lexical item across different corpora. And the organizing principle we've selected were lemmas. Okay, let us have a look at the methodological aspects of our research. Our research was guided by 2 main research questions. The first research question asked whether there is a substantial lexical core, a substantial overlap between lexical items in different language corpora. Because our approach is a corpus-driven approach, an approach that is based on the data and does not want to presuppose any existing theory. We want to first establish that something like lexical core common vocabulary exists. And the second research question we addressed was, well, if there is such lexical core, what are the items? What are the lexical items in this common core? We used 4 different corpora to answer these research questions: the lob corpus, BNC, BE06, and Anton 1012. As you can see from the table in this slide, the corpora differ in a number of aspects. First, it is the size of the corpora. Lob and BE06 are relatively small corpora, 1 million words each. BNC is a 100 million word corpus, and Anton 1012, the largest corpus in the sample, is a 12 billion word corpus. As you can see, the corpora also differ in the period when they were compiled. Lob comes from 1961, Anton 1012 from 2012. The BNC is the only corpus in the sample that has a substantial spoken component, 10%, and they differ also in a number of other aspects, such as the sample size, number of text, and text types that were sampled in the corpora. We purposefully chose 4 very different language corpora in order to establish whether, if we take corpora of different sizes from different periods, sampled according to different criteria, whether we still get some lexical overlap. The procedure that we followed was a simple one. First, we created word lists based on the 4 language corpora, the LOB, BNC, B06 and Ententen 12. The word lists were ordered according to the average reduced frequency, which I talked about before. We looked at the first 3,000 most frequent items in each word list. Then we compared the word list pairwise in order to address the first research question. Then we took all 4 word lists and compared them all together in order to establish the general lexical core. Finally, because we were also interested in lexical innovations, items that appear in the new language corpora B06 and Ententen 12 and which do not appear with comparable frequencies in the older language corpora LOB and BNC. So we looked at these differences comparing the 2 sets of corpora. Okay, here are some results. First, as you can see from the table in the slide, there was quite a large lexical overlap when we compared the corpora pairwise. As you can see, the overlap, the lexical overlap, is usually around and above 80%, which is quite a substantial part of these word lists. However, we were not interested only in the total number of items in common. We were also interested in the distribution of the items in the individual word list and whether the distribution is similar in the different word lists. What we did was we calculated the correlations, the Spearman's correlations, because we were dealing with ranks, and as you can see, the correlations are very high, surprisingly high, almost 0.8 and above, some of them almost reaching 0.9 with very low p-values, as you can see from the table. So this set of results were very encouraging because they show us that indeed there is something like common lexical core, regardless whether you take a small corpus from the 1960s or whether you take a very large corpus from 2012. When we took all 4 word lists together and compared them, we got an overlap of 71%, and in the slide you can see the breakdown of the common lexical items. The largest part is formed by nouns, followed by verbs, adjectives, adverbs, and then the grammatical word classes. This is a sort of normal distribution of word classes in texts. As I said, we were also interested in lexical innovations, the new words and the new meanings of old words that crop up in the current language corpora. Here you can see that in the research we were able to identify new words, new forms such as internet, website, online and email. We were also able to identify words that have been around for a while, but words that acquired new meanings due to the changes of technology, such as user, via, network, client, mobile, file and web, and also words that have been around for a while, words that kept their meanings but became prominent only recently, words such as medium and the plural media, phone, key as an adjective, a key difference for instance, technology, and informal words such as guy, kid, or even Americanisms such as movie. When we put these two sources together, the lexical core and the lexical innovations, and you can see the exact number of items in each category, we created the new general service list, which consists of almost 2,500 lemmas. Lemmas were the units that we were working with, the head word plus all the inflectional morphological forms related to the head word. Just to give you an overview, the new general service list is a list of items ordered alphabetically. However, the general service list gives you also information about the frequency of the word, about the part of speech, and the rank of the words among the 2,500 items. The color coding is connected with the frequency band. The red items are the most frequent 500 words. The items in bold type are items within the first 1,000 words, and the items in italics are the lexical innovations. Going back to the original purposes of the general service list and the new general service list as well, we talked about the pedagogical purposes and the research purposes, and the two groups of potential users, the practitioners and researchers. For the practitioners, when we are looking ahead and look for the future possible applications of the new GSL, we are planning to create an online environment which will enable people to check their own text or texts of their learners against the new general service list, and would give them the text coverage by the new general service list. For the researchers, we've been working on the American supplement of the new general service list, and we are looking at the variation of lexical items across different varieties of English. It is important to say that the new general service list, as is published, is fairly stable across different varieties of English, and there are only small number of differences when we look at American English, for example. That's all. Thank you very much for your attention, and if you wonder what the numbers are, these are the ranks of these two items, thang and you, in the new general service list. If you want to read more, you can always find the article that describes the methodology, and the full general service list is also available for free from the Applied Linguistics website. So thank you very much.